I'm so ridiculously handsome it's practically a curse, yet I'm not happy at all. Just because I forgot to wear a mask during freshman registration, my god-tier good looks attracted the frantic confessions of what felt like 71.3 billion classmates. Even the 50-year-old cleaning lady wanted to make me her little baby. This terrifying ordeal scared me so much that I immediately ran off campus to rent an apartment. Who would have thought that I would end up becoming roommates with the school's undisputed ice beauty? There's only this last apartment left now. Since you both want a one-bedroom and don't have the budget for a two-bedroom, why don't you two just share it? I looked at the cold, stunning beauty wearing a mask standing in front of me. She had long, silky black hair, a white JK-style uniform shirt on her upper half, and a short skirt that revealed flawless fair legs that left plenty to the imagination. I think that could work. After considering it for a long while, the beauty finally nodded. Seeing our agreement, the landlord drafted 2 contracts right on the spot. Afterward, we each paid our $1,500 for rent. Looking at the clean furnishings inside the apartment, I was overall pretty satisfied. "I'll take this room," the masked beauty declared. I nodded and walked toward the other bedroom. After organizing my stuff, I laid down on the bed, and before I knew it, sleepiness took over. By the time I woke up, it was almost 7 p.m. Right then, my stomach let out a loud protest. I pushed the door open and saw that the living room lights were on. My female roommate was sitting on the sofa and had already taken off her mask. Upon seeing her face, I couldn't help but freeze. That face was just too pretty. It looked like a freshly peeled hard-boiled egg, so delicate it seemed like water would drip if you poked it. She truly had the face of an angel. However, after my momentary daze, I planned to head out. My stomach was still starving! "Wait," a freezing voice echoed from behind me. I stopped in my tracks, turned around, and saw her looking right at me. "Those eyes are pretty nice too. Is something the matter? Do you have a moment? Let's talk." "Sure." I sat down on the armchair to the side, just looking at her, waiting for her to continue. "Since we're living together now, it's best we set some ground rules, don't you agree?" Her tone was ice cold, carrying a unique sense of pressure. I nodded expressionlessly. "The common areas are shared. No leaving personal items lying around. We take turns with the cleaning. You absolutely cannot bring random strangers back here to mess around. Do not touch each other's things without permission. Do not enter the other's room. No making a ruckus or loud noises at night." After finishing, the beauty just stared at me. "Sure, I have no objection. If you have anything else to add later, feel free to bring it up. I'll respect your boundaries." Afterward, I stood up and started walking toward the door. "I'm starving now, so I'm going to get some food. By the way, my name is Leo." My swift exit left the beauty blinking in surprise, making her momentarily doubt herself. It also made her drop her guard just a tiny bit. Finally, meeting my gaze, she spoke up. "Serena Quinn." And just like that, our cohabitation life began. First thing the next morning, when I walked out of my room, there was no sign of anyone in the living room. I couldn't worry about that right now. I was about to be late. Grabbing my backpack, I sprinted toward the campus. The moment I stepped into the classroom, it triggered a chorus of gasps from the girls. Everyone's eyes were glued to me. "Wow, his face card never declines. Oh my gosh, is this cutie in our mate? We are so blessed. Go ask for his socials after class." Listening to her friends teasing, a pretty decent-looking girl instantly blushed, but I wouldn't dare. Meanwhile, the guys in the class heard these discussions and instantly turned sour with jealousy. I ignored those gazes and murmurs, taking a seat in the very last row by the window. I looked outside while eating my breakfasts. Suddenly, another wave of gasps erupted in the classroom, this time from the guys. But I remained immersed in my own little world, not even turning my head. Hearing the approaching footsteps and catching a whiff of a passing fragrance, I glanced out of the corner of my eye. Then I froze. It was her, Serena Quinn. Why was she here? Was she a student at Starlight University too, and in the exact same class as me? She simply walked right past me and took the seat directly in front of mine. I shook my head and went back to staring out the window. Soon after, another commotion broke out. My head was starting to hurt from all the noise. Looking toward the door, I saw a stunning woman wearing glasses and high heels strutting in. "All right, quiet down." The beautiful woman stood at the podium and raised a hand to stop the chaos. "I am your homeroom teacher and your academic counselor. My name is Miss Rachel Stone. For the next 4 years, I hope we can all get along. If you have any issues or run into any trouble, come find me, and I'll do my best to help you solve it." After that, she had us go up one by one to introduce ourselves. As classmates went up one after another, it was soon Serena's turn. "My name is Serena Quinn." After saying that, she walked right off the stage. However, a wave of whispers swept through the crowd below. "Last name Quinn? Could she be from the Quinn Corporation family?" Hard to say. But my older brother goes to this school, and she was in his year. Technically, she should be a sophomore. But apparently, she took a leave of absence shortly after starting, which caused quite a stir. "No way, really?" "Yep, she's still the #1 ranked campus beauty on the school forums. Nobody's knocked her off the top spot yet." Listening to their gossip, I frowned slightly. I didn't expect my roommate to have such a huge background. She might even be the heiress of the Quinn family. So why on earth was she renting a room off campus? I shook my head, pushing those thoughts down. Why should I care so much about someone else's business? After the introductions, It was time to elect the class president. But after waiting a long time, absolutely no one spoke up. Ms. Rachel wasn't pleased. Nobody wants to be class president? In that case, I'll have to pick someone. Her eyes scanned the crowd, finally landing on me. That student in the back, come up and run for it. At first, I didn't even realize she was calling me, until I heard someone knocking on the... I turned my head and saw Serena turning around, tapping her desk to alert me. The teacher is telling you to go up and run for class president, Serena said, then turned back around. Student Leo Vance, right? Please come up and run for class president. I hesitated for a moment, but walked up anyway. Hello everyone, my name is Leo Vance. I really don't want to be class president, man. Ha 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 ha, who knew the handsome guy had such a funny side? Ms. Rachel's face darkened initially, but then she flashed a playful smile. Excellent, the class president is now Leo Vance. Under the teacher's tyrannical rule, I was forcefully drafted as class president. After class, Serena and I went to register our off-campus living forms. However, when Ms. Rachel saw that our home addresses were exactly the same, she gave me a very weird look. Are you two? My mouth twitched. For a moment, I had no idea how to answer. Instead, Serena beat me to it. We're renting an apartment together. Rachel didn't pry any further and simply nodded. I watched Serena leave first. I didn't go back with her. Instead, I went to the nearby fresh market to buy some groceries. When I got home, I saw Serena sitting on the couch eating takeout. Seeing the groceries in my hands, Serena felt a twinge of curiosity in her heart. I subsequently entered the kitchen, rolled up my sleeves, and started cooking. Before long, the delicious aroma of food drifted out from the kitchen. Serena watched my busy figure in the kitchen, zoning out completely. He actually knows how to cook? And it smells so good. I finished 2 simple dishes, brought them to the dining table, sat down, and started eating. I glanced at Serena, who was still eating in the living room, hesitated for a moment, and said, I made some food. If you don't mind, you can come try some. It was my first time talking to someone of the opposite sex who was this insanely pretty, so I stuttered a bit, and my grip on my chopsticks subconsciously tightened. Serena didn't expect me to invite her. She looked at her half-eaten takeout, thought about it, and eventually brought it over to sit across from me. Thank you. You're welcome, I said slowly, looking down. I also didn't expect us to not only be neighbors but also classmates. Please take care of me from now on, Serena observed me, and upon seeing my bright red ears, the corners of her mouth inexplicably curled up. However, I was too focused on my food to notice. At that moment, I felt like my heart was going to beat right out of my chest. Thank you, it was delicious. When we finished eating, I was about to clean up, but Serena stopped me. As thanks for treating me to a meal, I'll take care of this chore. I couldn't argue with her, so I let her go wash the dishes. Watching her back, I breathed a rare sigh of relief. Even though I was living with a girl, at least no unpleasant drama had happened. When evening came, I asked her again if she wanted to eat with me. That phrasing was a bit ambiguous, and Serena misunderstood, her face flushing slightly. I was just wondering why she wasn't responding, and when I turned my head, I saw Serena sitting on the couch with a red face. I was completely clueless. What's wrong? Are you sick? Serena, are you okay? Serena snapped out of it in a panic, feeling absolutely mortified. She had never lost her cool like this before. What was wrong with her? After getting my answer, I headed out to buy groceries. When I returned home, the living room was empty, but the light spilling from the crack under Serena's bedroom door meant she was inside. I went into the kitchen and started cooking. At this moment, Serena was lying on her stomach on her bed, playing on her phone, her pale, bare feet kicking back and forth over the edge. She looked nothing like the icy beauty she presented to the outside world. Right then, someone called her. Seeing the caller ID Mom, she hesitated for a second before answering. Serena, how is college life treating you? Serena was silent for a moment before replying flatly, It's fine. The other end of the line was silent for a long time before a sigh came through. I'm sorry, Serena. Mom has just been so incredibly busy lately. Once I get through this period, I'll have some free time. When your holidays come around, Mom will take you out on a trip. No need. Just focus on your work, Serena said casually. Do you have enough money? Grandpa gave me some. It's enough. In an office somewhere else? Mrs. Quinn shook her head helplessly at the disconnected call. She looked at a picture frame on her desk. The photo showed her and her husband hugging, looking like the sweetest couple in the world, until the day that tragic news arrived, completely shattering their family. A little while later, I brought out the finished dishes, walked over to Serena's bedroom, and knocked on the door. Time to eat! Serena gave a hum of acknowledgement, collected her emotions, and opened the door. I had already scooped out 2 bowls of rice. There was a plate of crispy fried pork and a plate of fish. Even she couldn't help but swallow hard at the sight of such perfectly colored and aromatic food. Smells so good! Come eat. For a while, the dining table was completely silent, save for the sound of chewing. I didn't know what to say, and Serena was feeling a mess emotionally. Eventually, it was Serena who broke the silence because she remembered something very important. I want to talk to you about something. I can't just eat your food for free. I looked at her and said simply, cooking for 1 is the same as cooking for 2. No difference. Serena felt a bit guilty, but she really was tight on cash right now. Otherwise, she'd be too embarrassed to keep eating. But you're the one doing the cooking. Wouldn't it be unfair if I only pay for the ingredients? What a kind-hearted girl, I smiled. If it weren't for you and I had to rent a 2-bedroom on my own, I might not even have enough money left to eat. Is that so? Serena thought about it. Then I'll pay 60% and you pay 40%. Deal. If you refuse, I'd feel too bad eating this. Seeing her serious expression, I nodded and agreed. For a moment, we went back to eating in silence, both lost in our own thoughts. After dinner, I went back to my room, scrolled on my phone for a bit, and grabbed my clothes to take a shower. However, when I walked out of the bathroom entirely shirtless, I locked eyes with Serena, who was drinking water in the living room. I froze instantly. Seeing me like that, we just stood there in eerie, awkward silence for a second. Serena was the first to react. A deep crimson crawled up her face. She frantically covered her eyes and let out a mortified shriek. "Pervert! Exhibitionist! I forgot I wasn't living alone anymore! I'm sorry!" I yelled, bolting back toward my room. Serena also panicked and practically ran blindly back to her own room. 2 doors slammed shut at the exact same time. I sat on the edge of my bed, drowning in regret. I was too used to living alone and hadn't adapted yet. On the other side, Serena leaned against her door, her face burning red. Her mind kept flashing back to the image from a moment ago. Why is his body so good? And those were 8-pack abs? Serena touched her scorching cheeks, her heart racing inexplicably, and her mind going wildly off the rails. She gently slapped her own face. But after lying down in bed, she tossed and turned, completely unable to sleep. This was the very first time she had seen a guy's. When we got up the next morning, Serena had faint dark circles under her eyes. Seeing me come out of my room, she glared at me grumpily. I turned my head away in awkwardness. There won't be a next time. I'll be careful. Seeing that my attitude towards admitting my mistake was pretty good, Serena decided not to hold a grudge. Besides, it's not like you lost anything, right? Hearing me say that, Serena instantly flared up with rage. At that moment, she really wanted to punch someone. Leo Vance! My heart skipped a beat, and I immediately took a step back. I didn't say anything. I seriously had no idea why my usually quiet self would say something so bold. Serena let out a cold snort and slammed the bathroom door shut. I rubbed my nose guiltily. Looks like I really ticked her off. With Serena inside, I had no choice but to wait. I sat on the sofa, scrolling on my phone out of sheer boredom. Soon, I realized something was wrong. How long has she been in there? It feels like it's been over 10 minutes. I walked over to the bathroom door and knocked. Hey, big sister, how long have you been in there? Why aren't you out yet? I haven't even brushed my teeth. I'm gonna be late at this rate. Inside the bathroom, listening to my voice through the door, the corners of Serena's mouth lifted. She checked the time and revealed a mischievous smile. Outside, I was pacing back and forth anxiously, eventually resorting to frantic knocking. Sis, Auntie, Grandma, I'm begging you. Please come out. I can't hold it anymore. Inside, Serena slowly stopped smiling upon hearing my words. Auntie? Am I that old? Seeing that enough time had passed, she finally emerged from the bathroom. I didn't even glance at her. I just darted inside and slammed the door shut. Serena stood by the door, covering her mouth and giggling secretly. But thinking back to yesterday's incident, she scoffed lightly, her face heating up again. She didn't understand why she felt this way. She was usually so bad with words, yet she repeatedly made exceptions for a guy she had only just met. Maybe it was because these past 2 days of living together hadn't made her despise him. Or maybe it was because of the meals Leo cooked. Or maybe it was because she felt a sense of familiarity around him. Serena stopped overthinking it. Before leaving, she glanced at the bathroom door, let out a soft chuckle, and headed out to school. After washing up, I checked the time. Being late was an absolute certainty now. I instantly wanted to cry. I jogged out the door, not forgetting to grab a quick breakfast on the way. A few minutes later, disheveled, holding a steamed bun, bent over, and panting heavily, I stood at the classroom door. The class looked at my miserable state and started whispering, as if even handsome guys run late, huh? Sitting in the back row, Serena saw this and couldn't hold back a pff of laughter. Ms. Rachel's expression was less than stellar. Someone was late on the very first day of actual classes. Let's hear it, Mr. Class President. What happened? I glanced at Serena in the back row and met her eyes, which were brimming with amusement. Not gonna lie, she looks pretty nice when she smiles. I'm sorry, I overslept. After receiving a thorough lecture from Miss Rachel, I was finally let into the classroom. But when I walked to the back, I realized my seat had been ruthlessly hijacked by Serena. I glared at her intensely, but she glared right back without an ounce of fear, wearing a provocative smile. I slumped into the seat in front of her, eating my breakfast in depression. After school, I went to a boba shop on the food street. This was where I had worked part-time during the summer. Boss, I called out casually. While you were gone, my customer traffic took a serious hit, Boss Carter joked. I shrugged and headed to my workstation. Boss Carter didn't mind. He knew my quiet, introverted personality. But ironically, even with me acting like an ice block, girls still went crazy for it. Is the boss here? A female voice rang out. Coming. I walked out from the back carrying a box of tapioca pearls. However, when my eyes locked on to Serena, I froze. Serena obviously didn't expect to run into me here either, mimicking my exact expression of shock. The girl standing next to Serena was equally stunned, purely because she didn't expect to see such a handsome guy here, and so the three of us stood there in a deadlocked silence. What would the two of you like to drink? I was the first to snap back to reality, stuffing the pearls into the fridge and looking at them. I want a pearl milk tea and a lime yuzu tea. One moment, Serena, that guy is so handsome. Are you not freaking out? She looks at him every day. Why would she freak out? Tiffany suddenly remembered something and nudged Serena teasingly. Oh, I forgot you're allergic to men. He's in my class, Serena hastily explained, seeing Tiffany's reaction. No wonder. So, are you interested in him? Or better yet, are any other girls in your class chasing him? Serena frowned and shot her a deadly glare. Stop talking nonsense. Just as Tiffany was about to ask more questions, I brought over their drinks. Tiffany stared at my retreating back for a solid minute before snapping out of it. Not bad at all, bestie. I think I'm in love. I want to chase him. Serena was sipping her drink, and upon hearing that, she subconsciously bit down hard on her straw. An inexplicable emotion spread in her heart. She had no idea why she was feeling this way. Then good luck. He's in very high demand. Tiffany keenly picked up on the weird shift in her tone and suddenly grinned. Don't tell me? You like him too? Who said that? Serena turned her head away in a panic, but to Tiffany that reaction was basically a confession. So you do like him? Well, then I won't compete with you. Tiffany? Serena glared at her, her voice turning cold. Keep spewing nonsense and I'll beat you up. Tiffany shivered, recalling some terrifying memories, and raised her hands in defense. Okay. My lips are sealed. Why do you always act so icy? It's scary. You're gonna scare the handsome guy away like that. Serena peeked at me from the corner of her eye. I was currently busy prepping drinks, and there were 2 other girls waiting at the counter. The girls had literal stars in their eyes, but I maintained my strictly professional, emotionless demeanor as I handed them their drinks. For some reason, seeing this made Serena feel a little sour, but also slightly relieved. It seems he really is popular. Wasn't she also bewitched into agreeing to be his roommate simply because of his face? After all, good looks are justice. If he were just a bit more sunny and outgoing, he'd probably be even more popular. These thoughts startled Serena herself. Since when do I pay so much attention to him? Then she noticed her bestie's teasing gaze. Snapping back to reality, Serena instantly blushed. What are you looking at? Bestie, I have no idea how long you were just staring at him. Stupid Tiffany, Serena glared at her grumpily. Let's go. Not gonna take one more look? Serena ignored her and marched outside on her own, leaving Tiffany to chase after her. Oh my, someone's angry! After saying goodbye to Tiffany and returning home, Serena looked at the empty apartment, feeling a whirlwind of mixed emotions. She pulled out her phone, found my WeChat, and tapped on the screen. Meanwhile, I was just getting ready to clock out when I saw the message from Serena. Are you still coming back to cook dinner tonight? I replied with a simple yeah. Looking at that single word on her screen, Serena actually felt a flicker of joy. She was as excited as a kid who just got a piece of candy. I don't know how much time passed, but the sound of the front door unlocking echoed through the apartment. Serena immediately jumped up, only to see me walking in carrying a massive load of groceries. I glanced at her and headed straight for the kitchen to start prepping. Serena followed me in, asking tentatively, want me to help you wash the vegetables? No need, just sit and relax. It's not right to make a girl do the hard work. Serena had no choice but to stand by the kitchen door, watching me bustle about. I'm sorry, did this mess up your plans for tonight? Nope, I said, completely unbothered. If people invite me out to eat after work, I just won't eat at home. Serena gave a soft, oh. Before long, I brought out 2 dishes. At that moment, Serena looked at me and asked, were you working a part-time job this afternoon? I nodded. Serena hesitated for a moment. Is your place still hiring? She had no idea what compelled her to actually ask that out loud. I looked at her in disbelief. What? You want to work part-time too? Serena nodded, then lowered her head. If that's asking too much, then never mind. It's fine. I'll go ask for you. Thank you so much. I had a million questions, but I swallowed them down. Just then my phone buzzed. It was a message from Chuck, my classmate. I let Serena know and headed out. Serena bit her lip, staring at the closed door, a sudden wave of emptiness washing over her. Following the address Chuck sent, I arrived at a barbecue spot. Class Prez, over here! I walked over. Chuck pulled out a chair for me to sit. I took a quick head count. Including me, there were 5 people. It's just our dorm getting together this time. Originally, you were supposed to be in our dorm, Prez? Chuck grinned, then pointed to a guy and explained, his name is Blondie. He's a theater major, and the only guy in our dorm with a girlfriend. Comparing yourself to others will just make you mad. By the end of his sentence, Chuck's voice sounded like he was grinding his teeth, making the rest of us burst out laughing. Soon enough, the atmosphere livened up. Everyone was eating and chatting. Suddenly, Chuck looked around the table mysteriously. You guys remember Serena, the campus beauty in our class? How could anyone forget? If you've got gossip, spit it out, Chuck. Chuck chuckled mischievously. I'm sure you all know Serena was originally a sophomore, right? She took a year off. But stop building suspense, just tell us! Even I stopped eating. Back then, Serena was absolutely unstoppable. The line of guys chasing her stretched from the campus gates all the way down here. But because she rarely showed her face and had an icy personality, she still hasn't had a boyfriend. But the suitors never stopped. Rumor has it, there was this rich kid who wanted to pursue her, and she basically handed him his own behind. After that, she took her leave of absence. Some say she had family issues and had to pause her studies. Others say it was the school suspending her. There are a million different versions. After finishing his story, Chuck looked at everyone's satisfied, gossip-filled faces and couldn't help but look smug. How about that? I had to track down a senior to dig this up. Nice, badass. The guys gave him a thumbs up. I also didn't expect the campus beauty to end up in our class. The forum posts from back then got deleted, so it's normal you guys didn't know. The crew went back to eating while I lowered my head in thought. Suddenly, Chuck leaned in close to my ear and smirked. Mr. Handsome, gotta ask you something. His stare gave me the creeps. I felt like this guy was up to no good. What? You sly dog, I feel like you're getting awfully close to Serena. Are you too? Chuck gave me a wicked grin and a knowing wink. No, I replied flatly. Who would believe that? I've seen you walking with the campus beauty multiple times. Plus, during military training, all the signs point to your relationship being anything but normal. I stayed silent. Chuck pressed on. Spit it out. How far along are you two? We're not, and I have no intention of dating. Chuck looked entirely unconvinced, but seeing that I didn't want to talk about it, he dropped the subject. Everyone went back to chatting. After dinner, I returned to the apartment and went straight to sleep. I woke up early the next morning. Today was the first day of actual lectures, and I didn't want to be late again. But when I walked out with my toothbrush, I saw Serena brushing her teeth in the bathroom. Helplessly, I sat on the sofa to wait. Maybe this is the inconvenience of having a roommate. When Serena finally came out, I couldn't resist teasing her. If you stay in there for over 10 minutes like last time, I'm doomed. It's still early, Serena replied, recalling the previous incident, the corners of her mouth slowly rising. I just rolled my eyes at her, went into the bathroom, and shut the door. When I was all packed and ready to head out, Serena also grabbed her backpack and followed me out the door. In the elevator, I let out a massive yawn and said weakly, "You don't have to wait for me." "You know, you wish," Serena said proudly, turning her head away to ignore me. At the school gates, I randomly picked a steamed bun stall, bought 2 massive meat buns, and a cup of soy milk. Serena followed suit, buying a small basket of stoop dumplings. The two of walking one after the other through the campus drew a lot of attention. Who are they? Never seen them before. Freshmen? Man, this year's freshmen are insane. Their visuals are off the charts. We ignored the stares. Serena reverted to her icy persona, and I put on my best emotionless poker face. However, when we walked into the classroom one after the other, we were once again met with the utterly incredulous stares of the entire class. It's barely been any time. Has our class president already bagged the class beauty? The sound of countless hearts shattering echoed through the room. Chuck was also in disbelief, followed by a teasing smirk. This lucky punk. I was just planning to head to the back row, but the girl beside me, Serena, beat me to it. Looking at her, I wanted to say something but held it back. "Sorry, go find another seat," Serena said with a smile. I gave a cold snort and shamelessly sat right down next to her. My bold move startled Serena, and her face flushed red when she processed what happened. I sit wherever I want," I said, playing the absolute scoundrel. Serena turned her head away. The distinctly male pheromones wafting from the person next to her made her feel weird. She still wasn't used to a guy sitting next to her, especially this close. The classmates witnessing this gasped collectively. This made Serena's face burn even hotter, and she glared at me fiercely. But I was simply mesmerized. How is this girl so cute when she's mad? That blushing little face, those pursed lips, it was dangerously lethal. Serena noticed me staring and violently stomped hard on my foot. Then she turned her head away. "Hiss! So much pain!" Rachel came in and started the lecture. I gathered my thoughts, pulled out my textbook, and listened seriously. But despite Ms. Rachel's straightforward explanations, there were 2 concepts I just couldn't wrap my head around. I glanced at Serena, who was diligently taking notes beside me. "What are you looking at?" I coughed awkwardly. "I have 2 questions I want to ask you." Serena nodded, putting on a strictly business attitude. "Let me see." The distance between us instantly vanished as she leaned her head over to look at the textbook. From my angle, I could smell the faint, alluring fragrance coming off her. I wasn't looking at the questions. I was completely distracted by her side profile. Her skin was so nice, so pale. It really did look like a peeled egg. Realizing what I was doing, I startled myself and my pure, innocent face burned hot. "Do you understand now?" Serena finished explaining, looked up and found me completely zoned out. My face beat red. Is this creep thinking about something inappropriate? The thought made Serena blush too, her fingers nervously fiddling with her pen. "Ah," I snapped back to reality, feeling terribly guilty. "Ooh, understood." Serena returned to her normal posture, staring at me judgmentally. Under her intense, pressurized gaze, I surrendered and admitted awkwardly, "No, I didn't understand. Actually, I wasn't even listening. I wasn't listening." I spaced out. Serena facepalmed, exasperated, before patiently explaining it to me again. This time I didn't zone out and listened properly. I had to admit, Serena really knew her stuff. She explained deep concepts in simple, easy-to-understand terms. She was definitely a straight-A student. Got it now? Serena looked at me and tested me with a few questions. I answered all of them correctly, which After class, I walked out of the classroom to hit the restroom and bumped into Chuck. He threw an arm around my shoulder with a wicked grin. "Mr. Handsome, I knew you weren't an honest man. Who told me yesterday they had no intention of dating, and on the second day, You're walking into campus with the school beauty. You two were even whispering sweet nothings during class. My mouth twitched, feeling a massive headache coming on. So instead of paying attention in class, you just spy on these things. Sensing my tone shift, Chuck quickly defended himself. Man, it wasn't just me. The whole class was watching you two. I ignored him and walked off to the restroom to relieve myself. When classes resumed and I sat back down, I saw Serena digging around in her bag. Then, she pulled out some earphones, plugged them into her phone, and started listening to music. I was secretly shocked. Is she just skipping the lecture while sitting right here? Meanwhile, Serena, listening to her music, had her mind drift far away. She stared blankly out the window, her eyes filled with unconcealable longing. Halfway through the class, Ms. Rachel started calling on people to answer questions. And of course, she called on Serena. Suddenly, the eyes of the entire class were on her. But Serena didn't notice a thing. It wasn't until I nudged her arm that she finally turned her head, took off her earphones, and realized everyone was staring at her. She looked at me in confusion. The teacher is calling on you to answer the question. Serena stood up, looked at the problem on the board, and after about 10 seconds began to explain the solutions slowly. Her logic was sound and evidence-based. Even Ms. Rachel was a bit surprised, eventually smiling in satisfaction. Good, excellent. You may sit down. Serena sat up straight, then went right back to listening to her music. After class, as she was packing up her things, she looked at me and asked, "What are we eating later? Anything works." I didn't notice Serena's slightly red eyes. Her voice sounded a bit low, almost dejected. I want to eat fish. Can you make it?" "Sure thing." We parted ways on the road. Serena went home, and I went to the market alone to pick out a fish. As dense as I was, even I could tell something was off with Serena's mood. It had started during class. I didn't feel right prying into her secrets, so I didn't ask. When I returned with the groceries, the living room was dead silent. After finishing cooking, I called Serena out from her bedroom. Just as I sat down, I saw Serena staring blankly at the plate of steamed fish. Then she picked up a piece of fish with her chopsticks and carefully placed it in her mouth. At that moment, her eyes went wide, and she just stared at me. "Is it bad?" Seeing her expression, I thought I had messed it up and quickly took a bite to test it. It tasted perfectly fresh and savory. "No, it's really good." I nodded, slightly confused. For a while, neither of us spoke, just focusing on our food. Almost the entire fish ended up in Serena's stomach. After dinner, Serena went into her room without saying a word. Inside, she sat on her bed, her eyes brimming with tears. Unable to hold it back any longer, she began to cry softly. "The taste is so similar. Dad, I miss you so much." I had absolutely no idea that a dish I cooked had plunged Serena into deep memories. After school the next day, I grabbed my backpack and looked at Serena. "There's an update on that part-time job you asked me to look into. Want to go check it out?" Serena looked at me, a little excited. "Really? Is it at the boba shop?" "No, the boss doesn't need anyone right now. But I found you a cashier job at the convenience store right. Don't know if you'd be okay with that. As long as it's a job, I'm not picky." "All right then, I'll take you to check it out." We walked side by side out of the school and arrived at the convenience store I mentioned. It was located right next to the boba shop, meaning our workplaces were extremely close. However, when the owner, a middle-aged woman, saw Serena, she frowned, making our hearts sink a little. "What's wrong? Will she not do? Can you handle hard work?" "There's quite a lot to do," the female owner asked Serena. "Even though I'm hiring a cashier, I actually have to move a lot of inventory every time a shipment arrives. I can't handle it all by myself, so I was hoping to find someone to help." "I thought your classmate was going to be a boy," Serena said with unwavering determination. "I can do it! Then let's try it out first." The owner finally agreed, mainly because I mentioned I worked right next door and could come up. That was what sealed the deal for the owner. With that extra insurance, the details were quickly sorted out. I went back to the boba shop while they discussed her salary. A little while later, I saw Serena, wearing a red uniform vest, walk up to me with a beaming smile. "I got it!" she nodded, her face full of joy. "Thank you for helping me get this job." "You're welcome." Serena looked at me with a complex expression. She really wanted to open her mouth and ask something, but eventually swallowed the words. "I'll head back to work then." When it was time to get off work that night, I said goodbye to Boss Carter. As I walked out, I happened to glance at the convenience store next door. Through the glass, I could see Serena standing there, looking incredibly focused. Her hands were moving fast, scanning customers' items one by one like a seasoned pro. Since our shifts ended at different times, I headed home first. I didn't even know what time she got off yet. Not long after, Serena also clocked out. When she didn't see me at the boba shop next door, she asked the boss. Boss Carter laughed and said, "Him? He clocked out over 10 minutes ago." Serena thanked him and prepared to leave. She had no idea why she was suddenly paying so much attention to him. "Hey beautiful, are you that kid's girlfriend? You two look like a great match." Hearing this, Serena's face turned beet red in a flash. She clearly didn't expect Boss Carter to say that. "I'm not!" After saying that, she bolted away as fast as her legs could carry her, leaving Boss Carter chuckling behind her. Watching her runaway figure, he smiled teasingly. "That punk has some serious luck." Serena's cheeks were still burning. She didn't know why so many people assumed they were that kind of relationship. Weren't they just classmates? Lost in her chaotic thoughts, she arrived home. She pushed the door open and walked in. Before she could even process anything, she looked up and saw me walking out of the bathroom, completely shirtless. Serena froze. Then she screamed. I was also startled, instantly shifting into high gear and slamming my bedroom door shut with a loud bang. Serena was left standing in the living room in a daze, grinding her teeth furiously. Her clenched fists betrayed the pure rage in her heart. This is the second time! She really wanted to beat Leo Vance to a pulp. I leaned against my door, panting heavily, my heart threatening to leap out of my chest. I was completely speechless too. I thought Serena would need some time to close up the shop after clocking out. But what were the odds? Hearing a sudden knock on my door, I jumped. I turned around and stared nervously at the door, terrified that the terrifying entity on the other side was going to bust it down. Leo Vance, stop playing dumb, put your freaking clothes on and get out here! She's cursing now. She's deaf. Since we lived under the same roof and couldn't avoid each other, I carefully opened the door. As soon as it opened, I met Serena's furious glare, mixed with a hint of embarrassment. It scared me so much I took a step back. Look, this was a total accident. Accident, my foot, Serena cursed angrily. This is the second time. I'm starting to think you're doing this on purpose. I turned my head away guiltily. I couldn't really argue with that. New rule added to the house rules. No walking around half-naked in the common areas from now on. If there's a next time, I swear I'm going to end you. I scratched my head and hurriedly agreed. The first time was an accident. This time was just purely awful luck. Looks like I really need to kick this habit. After finishing her lecture, Serena grabbed her clothes and went into the bathroom to shower. The next morning we only had one short class, which ended quickly. Just as I was about to leave, a commotion broke out in the classroom. Tiffany predictably had come to the door to find her bestie. Ignoring the stares, she scanned the room and finally spotted Serena in the back corner. But to her absolute shock, her man-hating bestie was actually sitting next to a guy. Upon closer inspection, wasn't that the handsome guy from the boba shop? Tiffany wore a teasing grin. She knew Serena was lying to her. If she didn't like him, why on earth would she let a guy sit next to her? At this moment, Serena also spotted Tiffany waving at her from the door, so she packed her things and walked over. What? Tiffany had a face full of gossip. Bestie, you are not being honest with me. Hurry up and tell me that handsome guy's name. You actually let him sit next to you. Seeing that she was busted, Serena's small face inexplicably heated up, and her tone lost its confidence. Why are you so nervous? You two definitely have something going on. Before Tiffany could finish her sentence, she received a swift kick from Serena. Tiffany rubbed her backside, complaining playfully. Geez, fine, I won't ask. I'll just ask around. It won't be hard to find out. Serena frowned. Just as she was about to strike again, Tiffany darted ahead with an awkward laugh. Serena, you didn't forget you're still in the taekwondo club, did you? Are we going to practice or what? We don't have class right now anyway. Serena thought about it. She didn't have classes this morning either, so going to practice with her wasn't a bad idea. Perfect, you can be my punching bag. Tiffany wanted to cry. Bestie, is that really necessary? Before we knew it, half a month had passed. One day, I was walking side by side with Serena on the small path toward our part-time jobs, just like usual. On the street, a black business car was parked by the curb. The person inside frowned as she watched Serena and me walking away. That silhouette, that looks like my daughter, right? This person was Mrs. Quinn. She had finally managed to carve out some time from her busy schedule and came to Starlight City to see her daughter. She ended up seeing the two of them heading to work right after class. Especially seeing Leo Vance walking beside her daughter made her brow furrow deeply. She had never seen her daughter walk so closely with a boy before. So, she had her driver follow them slowly, intending to figure out what was going on. Then, she saw the two of them enter two different shops. Taking in the scene before her, Mrs. Quinn realized her daughter was working part-time. Along with her heartache came a deepening sense of guilt, especially seeing Serena working so diligently at the register. She really wanted to go in and see her daughter right now. But remembering their strained relationship, she sighed and told the driver, "Let's go. It's time to head back." "Ma'am, aren't we going to see Serena?" Mrs. Quinn shook her head. "You know how stubborn that child is. Seeing her right now will only make things worse between us. Plus, we're out of time for this trip. We need to head back." Secretary Smith sighed and started the car, leaving the spot. Mrs. Quinn's eyes remained fixed on that convenience store. Looking through the glass at her daughter one last time, she said, "Investigate that boy." She was rather curious about what kind of boy could actually get close to her daughter. Meanwhile, Serena was still working peacefully. Right then, she received a notification on her phone. She took it out and saw it was a money transfer from her mom, telling her to enjoy college life and eat well. Serena's expression was complicated, but she eventually accepted the money and replied, "Thanks, Mom." When her shift ended, "You haven't clocked out yet?" I shrugged. "It's Friday, super busy." Then I went to the fridge and grabbed 2 cans of beer. Behind her, the female owner teased, "Your boyfriend came to see you again." Serena's face flushed. "Auntie, stop joking around, we're just classmates." The owner smiled and shook her head. I brought the 2 beers to the counter to pay, and Serena finally returned to normal, taking my items and ringing them up. I thought her expression was a little weird but didn't overthink it. "Are you off work now?" She clocked out ages ago. Go on, get out of here. The owner joked from the side. Blushing furiously, Serena grabbed her stuff and ran out the door. I shrugged, completely oblivious to any hidden meaning in the owner's words. On the way home, Serena watched me tip my head back to drink a beer and couldn't help but say, "You should drink less. This is the first time I've ever drank in front of you, and you're already telling me to cut back. Drinking too much is bad for your health." "Sure, but I'm just satisfying a craving," I replied nonchalantly. Serena didn't say anything else, assuming I was just in a bad mood. We walked in silence for the rest of the way. When we got home, Serena went in to take a shower. I sat on the couch, drank one beer, glanced at the other unopened can on the table, shook my head, and put it in the fridge. Returning to my room, I took off my clothes and lay down on the bed. A wave of sheer comfort washed over me instantly. I slowly closed my eyes, instinctively reached out to turn off the light, and just like that, I fell asleep. When Serena came out and saw the living room empty, she looked at the can on the table, then at my bedroom door. No light was seeping from underneath. Did he seriously get drunk off one beer? The next morning, I woke up bright and early, smelling the stinky sweat on myself. I frowned and headed straight to the bathroom for a When I came out, I saw Serena standing by the door in pink pajamas. Her long, pale legs were on full display. She gave me an exasperated look. I jumped in surprise, instinctively looking down at myself. Thankfully, I had clothes on this time. "What are you doing? Why are you taking a shower in the middle of the day? You got drunk off one can last night." Serena walked in, not missing the chance to mock me. "If you can't handle your liquor, don't drink." Getting mocked by this girl, I swear I was just tired and fell asleep. Who gets drunk off one beer? That would be pathetic. When Serena came out, she saw me sitting on the sofa looking at her like she was my mortal enemy. A playful smirk touched the corners of her lips. "What's wrong, zoning out? I was just super tired yesterday. I just fell asleep," I tried to explain. But Serena simply turned around and went back to her room. It was the weekend, and she had gotten up just to use the bathroom. Finding me in the shower had actually irritated her because she almost couldn't hold it. However, seeing my sour expression made her feel playful, and she just wanted to mess with me. Sure enough, he's pulling his hair out in frustration. Feeling completely helpless, I walked over to her door and knocked. "What? Can I borrow your hairdryer?" The room went silent for a moment. I thought she wasn't going to lend it to me. "Ugh, Leo Vance, you jerk! You're ruining my sleep!" Just as I was about to walk away, I heard Serena shouting from inside. Then the door swung open. I jumped back, ready to run for my life. Serena looked incredibly grumpy. She shoved the hairdryer into my hands, then slammed the door shut. "Thanks! Call me when you get up. I'll make breakfast." After drying my hair, I didn't dare provoke her again. I left the hairdryer in the living room and went back to sleep. "Leo Vance, come out and make breakfast." A while later, I heard a voice from outside my door. I opened my eyes, let out a yawn, and said, "Coming." Seeing me come out, Serena asked, "Can I order off the menu?" "No." Serena pouted but had no other choice. It wasn't like she knew how to cook. But honestly, she would eat anything Leo made because it was all delicious. Shortly after, I brought out 3 hard-boiled eggs, 2 glasses of milk, and a bag of sliced bread from the supermarket. The two of us sat together and started eating. But soon I noticed an extra egg yolk in my bowl. I watched as Serena took the yolk from her own egg and dropped it into my bowl. "What's this about?" "I don't eat egg yolks," Serena mumbled, looking down as she nibbled on the egg white. I was surprised for a second, but then it made sense. A lot of girls apparently don't like egg yolks. "Picky eating is a bad habit," Serena hummed dismissively. "I bet there are foods you hate too." I shook my head, staying silent, pot calling the kettle black. Serena saw right through me and fired back a smug counterattack. After breakfast, Serena headed out. She had been invited by Tiffany to practice taekwondo. I went back to my room, sat at my desk, opened a book, and started reading. The entire morning passed just like that. I rubbed my temples, then stood up to get ready to cook lunch. Just as I washed the rice and started the rice cooker, I opened the fridge and realized we were out of vegetables. I let out a ghostly sigh, pulled out my phone, and dialed a number. On the other end, Serena, who had just finished training, was walking out of the school with Tiffany. "Bestie, I have photographic evidence of your crimes." "Denying it is useless now," Tiffany teased, waving her phone in front of Serena. On the screen was the Starlight University forum, featuring secretly taken photos of Serena and me walking together. Serena's cold eyes shot her cheap best friend 3 deadly glares. Tiffany instantly felt the murderous intent and took a step back. "Bestie, even if you silence me, you can't hide the truth." Serena clenched her fists, just about to say something when her phone rang in her bag. She pulled it out and saw it was a WeChat call from me. She threw Tiffany one last look, ignored her, and walked away to answer it. Tiffany was burning with curiosity and wanted to follow to eavesdrop, but was stopped dead in her tracks by Serena's death stare. Tiffany waved her hands with an awkward laugh. "The only person who could make her this nervous has to be that Leo guy." Serena answered the call. "Why did it take you so long to pick up? What do you want?" Hearing the hostility in her voice on the other end, I froze for a second. Why is this girl so fired up? Is it that time of the month? "We're out of groceries. You're outside, right? Buy some on your way back." "Buy what?" "Whatever you want to eat." Serena agreed, changed direction, and headed to the fresh market. A little while later, the sound of the front door opening echoed through the apartment. Serena walked in carrying massive bags of groceries. This is enough to last 2 or 3 days, right? I did a quick inventory and nodded. But then I noticed something and sighed helplessly. Just how much do you love eating fish? Serena turned her head away. Is there a problem? You said to buy whatever I wanted to eat. No, I didn't mean anything by it. I took the groceries and went into the kitchen. I want fish soup later. While I was busy in the kitchen, Serena pulled out her phone and scrolled through the campus forums. She found the post Tiffany had shown her. There were quite a few photos, all secretly taken. Us walking down the street, entering the campus. As Serena read the comments, her expression grew colder and colder. She wished she could find these people and beat them up. Though it was only a small minority, there really were people who thought we were a couple. We're just classmates and roommates. You guys know nothing, yet you're blindly guessing. But despite that, Serena couldn't calm down. Thinking back on the nearly half-month we had spent together, it actually did feel a tiny bit like they were dating. At that thought, Serena's face turned a fiery red again. She startled herself with her own thoughts, feeling overwhelmingly embarrassed. Time to eat! Serena jumped, quickly reeling her emotions back in. Coming! Looking at the massive bowl of milky white fish soup, Serena swallowed hard again. Smells so good. Don't just stare at it, dish out the rice. As we sat there eating, Serena hesitated for a moment before saying, did you check the forums? The forums? No. Hearing that, I pulled out my phone and logged into the school forum. My eyes went wide. Seeing my reaction, Serena instantly gripped her chopsticks tighter and the Campus Beauty and Campus Beau dual polls are open. Vote for your favorite. Serena was utterly speechless. You want me to vote for you? Whatever works. No way. Serena was pulling her hair out internally. She really wanted to punch him. Watching her expression, I really wanted to laugh, but managed to hold it in. Then what exactly did you want to tell me? Finally, with Serena's guidance, I found the posts about us. And so? Serena didn't understand why I was so calm. It's just rumors. You know what our relationship is. We're just roommates, totally platonic. Why care about what they say? Serena was surprised by my calmness, then looked at me with a strange expression. Why are you looking at me like that? Did I say something wrong? No, then I suddenly smirked. Are you sure you don't need me to vote for you? Get out! The happy weekend passed swiftly amid our bickering. During class on Monday, Miss Rachel announced, the National Day holiday is coming up. The school plans to hold the freshman welcome party and the National Day performance together. Anyone who wants to perform, sign up with class president Leo Vance. Hearing this, I looked right at Serena beside me. What are you looking at? How about I sign you up? Don't you dare. Serena nearly yelled that out instinctively, her voice a bit too loud. The people in the rows behind us thought we were fighting and turned their heads to watch the drama. Miss Rachel looked our way and coughed. Quiet down in the back. Waiting for the teacher to resume class, Serena shot me a lethal glare. I threw my hands up in surrender, feigning complete innocence. But soon enough, I wasn't smiling anymore. Serena stomped hard on my shoe, and she didn't lift her foot. She just kept grinding her heel into it. I sucked in a breath of cold air, my face twisting in agony. Lift your foot, please. Once Serena had vented enough frustration, she finally lifted her foot. I grimaced in pain, shaking my foot to relieve the ache. I was just joking. Serena let out a cold humph and ignored me. Across the aisle, Chuck gave me a thumbs up. Badass, Prez. You even dare to tease the ice beauty. I rolled my eyes. How about I sign you guys up? You can go up there and do a hot dance. Specs laughed and pushed Chuck forward. Prez, just sign him up. It has nothing to do with us. Are we still brothers? You traitors! After class, I left the room to hit the restroom. In the hallway, I brushed past a group of guys, but didn't think much of it. They seemed like a rowdy little clique, the loud and obnoxious type. I had zero good impressions of guys like that. When I got back, I found my desk surrounded by a crowd. Weren't these the guys from the hallway? What were they doing here? I stood still, watching the drama unfold just like the rest. Serena, why didn't you tell me you were coming back? I only found out from the forums, and why didn't you apply through the school? You're taking your freshman year all over again? Serena frowned, not even looking at him. Chad, are we close? Stay away from me. Don't annoy me. Chad's face flashed with embarrassment, and a hint of imperceptible malice crossed his eyes. I just came to see you. Also, this is for you. Don't need it. The classmates were all watching with keen interest. Chad was about to say something else when a voice came from behind him. You're blocking my way. At this moment, I stared at the group surrounding my desk. You're blocking my way. Chad froze, turned around and snapped angrily. Who the hell are you? My voice dropped to freezing temperatures. The annoyance I had been suppressing finally exploded. This is my seat, and you're blocking my way. Chad looked down and saw a backpack stuffed in the desk drawer next to Serena. His expression instantly turned dark, jealousy washing over him. I'm busy here. Also, you don't need to sit here anymore. I let out a cold laugh, my expression growing even darker. Are you sure? Say that again. The atmosphere plunged into an eerie silence. The classmates realized something was wrong and all backed away to a safe distance. At that moment, Chad walked up to me, grabbed my backpack, and threw it on the ground. I said, you're not allowed to sit here. Chad, don't cross the line! Serena stood up, glaring coldly at the group. But before she could finish, I struck first. I landed a punch right in Chad's stomach. While he was bent over in pain, I grabbed his arm and threw him over my shoulder, slamming him into the ground. Before Chad even registered what happened, he was lying on the floor in agony. More than the physical pain, the utter humiliation made it unbearable. "Boss!" His lackeys panicked and were about to rush me. With just a few moves, I effortlessly knocked them all down. I picked up my backpack, returned to my seat, and looked at them with pure disdain. "A bunch of clowns! You!" Chad stuttered, unable to finish his sentence. Vice Class Rep Veronica spoke up. "Class is starting soon, and the teacher will be here any minute. Are you not leaving?" Hearing this, Chad had no choice but to lead his lackeys away, making sure to drop a classic threat on his way out. "You just wait!" I sat in my seat, not even giving him a second glance. Serena also sat back down. Seeing how unbothered the two of us were, Chad found it even more agonizing to look at. With a final cold snort, he stormed out. Ms. Rachel walked in, noticed the weird vibe in the room, and asked, "Why are you all standing around? Class is starting." Everyone finally returned to their seats, but their eyes kept darting my way. Just then, Serena's cold voice whispered in my ear, "Sorry for bringing trouble to you." I looked at her and smiled. "I don't hear any sincerity in your voice at all." Serena glared at me. "Give him an inch and he takes a mile." Being harassed by that idiot Chad had already put her in a terrible mood. Looking at Serena's clenched fists, my mouth twitched. Why can't this girl take a joke? All right. I didn't blame you anyway. No need to apologize. I just can't stand guys like that." I put on a totally nonchalant expression. Serena didn't say anything else and turned her attention to the blackboard. After class at noon, Serena still explained the situation to me. It turned out Chad was just another one of her suitors. But compared to the others, this guy was like a piece of chewed gum stuck to your shoe. Other people knew to back off when Serena got cold, but Chad just kept shamelessly coming back, no matter how many times he got beat up. "A human punching bag? I gotta admire the guy," I said. "Throwing his life away for love." Serena stayed silent. If we hadn't been in a classroom earlier, she would have thrown hands herself. "He's trying so hard, why don't you just accept him?" I teased. "Leo Vance," Serena glared at me. "I would never fall for someone like him." The moment Serena called my full name, I instinctively jumped away. Seeing she had no intention of hitting me, I walked back. "All right, enough about him. Let's go home and eat." Not too far away, watching the two of us banter, Chad was grinding his teeth so hard they were about to shatter. Soon, the National Day performance began. Ms. Rachel came over to confirm the final list. The main issue was that only 2 people from our class had signed up, which was way too few. Eventually, she set her sights on me. Sensing her predatory gaze, I quickly said, "Teacher, please don't call on me. I'm really not going up there. I don't have any talents." Rachel ignored the cheers and jeers from the rest of the class and smiled. "All right, that's it then. If no one else signs up, I'll submit the list as is." I originally had zero interest in this event and planned to rest at home. But Boss Carter felt this was a golden business opportunity and ordered me to bring milk tea to the event to sell. I was firmly against it at first, but I couldn't win against my boss. Helplessly, I agreed. At 6 p.m., the performances began. A male and female host took the stage for the opening remarks, followed by acts from various classes. Handsome guys singing, pretty senior girls dancing. It all drew waves of cheers from the audience. Meanwhile, in the sea of people, I was miserably lugging around a bright yellow delivery cooler box. Whenever I ran into someone, I'd ask, "Hey, want some boba?" In no time at all, I had sold quite a few. Of course, this was entirely due to my god-tier good looks. My customers were almost exclusively girls, and they constantly asked for my WeChat. I ruthlessly rejected them every time, earning plenty of resentful pouts. "Leo Vance." Suddenly, I heard someone call my name. I turned around and saw Tiffany and Serena. "Oh, it's you guys." I walked over and looked at Serena. "What? No work tonight?" Asked for time off to come listen to some music. Tiffany stood to the side, pouting as she watched us look all cozy. "Besties really do ditch you for a guy." "My boss is a tyrant, forcing me to work overtime," I complained. Listening to my grievances, Serena inexplicably smiled. "You two, tone it down. I'm still standing right here." Hearing Tiffany's comment, Serena blushed and kicked her. "If you don't speak, no one will think you're mute." All right. Mr. Handsome, Serena hasn't eaten dinner yet, and she's been complaining to me," Tiffany said, stirring the pot. "No, stop talking nonsense!" Serena glared at her. Tiffany laughed and jumped out of kicking range. "Mr. Handsome, could you treat us to some boba?" "Don't listen to her," Serena tried to say. I reached into my box and pulled out a piece of fried chicken and a cup of lime yuzu tea. "Why didn't you eat? Just make do with this for now." Serena froze, staring blankly, not reaching out to take it. She really wanted to say that besides the food he cooked, she couldn't really stomach anything else lately. Her palate had been spoiled. "Is this okay?" "Just take it," I said, shoving it into her hands without room for argument. "What about mine?" Tiffany asked. "Since you're Serena's best friend, I'll give you a 20% discount as a special favor." I snapped back to my emotionless poker face, making Tiffany's mouth twitch furiously. "Fine, I won't be your third wheel anymore." In the end, Tiffany bought a milk tea from me, and I went back to peddling my wares. Serena sipped on the yuzu tea I gave her, the strange feeling in her heart growing stronger. "Earth to Serena!" Tiffany's teasing voice pulled her back to reality. "Wow, he even remembered you like lime yuzu tea and had it ready." "Tiffany," Serena was exasperated. "How far along are you guys now?" "We are not what you think. So he's chasing you, and you're in the talking stage. Your progress is too slow." Serena was speechless again. Him chasing me, that dense block of wood? Thinking about how he managed to tick her off every single time, Serena shook her head helplessly, lost in thought. At that moment, a guy walked onto the stage. Serena took one look and immediately turned her head away. It was Chad, and he was already acting a fool. I dedicate this song to the girl I love most. He didn't even know if Serena was in the crowd, yet he still went up to perform. Serena stared coldly at the stage before finally turning to leave. Annoying. They found me resting in a corner and sat down to chat. Aren't you going to go out there and show some support? Meeting my teasing gaze, Serena ground her teeth. Get out! After Chad finished his song, there were actually quite a few girls cheering. After all, Chad wasn't bad looking. Finally, when the performances should have ended, the hosts returned to the stage. Now, as we wrap up, we're going to play a little game. Whoever the spotlight lands on has to come up and perform a talent. A new unexpected segment immediately piqued everyone's interest. Watching the spotlight frantically darting around, everyone was on edge, terrified it would land on them and they'd have to make a fool of themselves. The light finally stopped in a dark corner. Everyone turned to look out of curiosity. My mouth twitched. I never in a million years expected the spotlight to hit me. The two girls next to me were equally stunned. Mr. Handsome, you are a legend, Tiffany said, fully enjoying the chaos. What are you going to perform? Serena tilted her head to look at me, staying quiet, but her expression gave her away. She clearly wanted to see me make a fool of myself too. Let's congratulate this lucky student. Junior, please come up to the stage. Helplessly, I dragged my feet up to the stage. Isn't that the handsome class prez? His luck is insane. Chuck and the guys from my class immediately started gloating. That guy is so cute. I know him. I just bought boba from him. It's a shame he's so cold. He rejected me when I asked for his socials. The female host's eyes lit up when she saw such a handsome junior walk up. I took the microphone and stood a polite distance away from them. Junior, how do you feel about being selected? I don't. My completely deadpan response successfully made the audience roar with laughter. So what does our junior plan to perform? If you can't dance, singing is fine. Even if you're tone deaf, give it a shot, the host joked. I'll sing a song then, I said slowly, meeting the expectant gazes of the crowd. If this were the old me, I definitely wouldn't have come up. What song would you like to sing? An old song, The Ocean. Most of the people in the audience hadn't heard of it and were a bit confused, but they waited quietly. Only Serena, standing in the audience, went wide-eyed when she heard the title. She stood frozen to the spot, her face filled with absolute disbelief. The melancholic backing track began to play, followed by my deep, magnetic voice. As I sang, my eyes gradually softened, and I fell into my own memories. Like a pool of clear water, silent and deep. The audience listened and nobody thought it sounded bad. In fact, it carried an indescribable depth. Especially with the raw emotion pouring into my performance, everyone was captivated by my voice. Meanwhile, Serena's eyes, her trembling lips silently mouthed the lyrics along with me. When the final lyric was sung, I stood there for a moment, still lost in thought, head tilted slightly back, before finally lowering the microphone. The female host walked over and smiled. I didn't expect our junior to be so talented. I think I'm falling in love with you. My expression didn't change. I offered a polite, generic response, ignored the jealous glares from the guys, and walked off the stage. The event concluded and the crowd started dispersing. Tiffany very tactfully made her exit first. Let's go, I said to Serena. A sound as faint as a mosquito's buzz came from her. I almost didn't catch it. Seeing her follow me, I didn't think much of it and kept walking. Suddenly, a soft hand grabbed my arm. I jumped out of my skin, forcefully stopping myself. Even so, being grabbed by a girl for the first time made my face burn up instantly, my ears turning completely red. I tried to pull my arm back, but Serena's grip was surprisingly tight. At this moment, Serena's eyes were pooled with faint tears, though it was too dark for me to see clearly. I only sensed that she was in a terrible mood. What's wrong? That song. Can you tell me why you chose to sing that song? My mood dipped. It's the only song I know how to sing. Someone taught it to me. It holds a very special meaning to me. Is that person very important to you? Serena stared at me unblinkingly, her tone more serious than ever before. Yeah, I probably thought of something, and my mood soured. Sadly, I left her behind without even saying goodbye. Serena bit her lip, her chest feeling incredibly tight. Her hands were even trembling slightly. I discreetly pulled my arm back. Having a girl this close to me just felt weird. Let's go. Serena hesitated but eventually followed. What's up with you? You're acting weird today. Serena shook her head, offering a flimsy excuse. Just in a bad mood. She looked down, complex emotions swirling in her eyes, eventually zoning out while staring at my back. Leo Vance? Little Leo? Is it really you? She compared the figure of the Leo Vance in front of her with the memories of her childhood and found striking similarities. Even the names were identical. The world is huge, but could it really be such a coincidence? Are you hungry? I'm thinking of cooking something to recharge, I said suddenly from the front. Serena maintained her composure, finally taking a deep breath. A little, then I'll make you some noodles. Back at the apartment, Serena sat on the sofa, watching my back as I bustled around the kitchen. For a moment, she couldn't look away. Although she knew concluding they were the same person based on one, she wanted to verify it right now. If she confirmed it was him, then she would At that thought, Serena clenched her fists, wanting nothing more than to run up and interrogate me about the past right then and there, and then beat me up. But reason finally pulled her back. "Come eat your noodles! Coming!" Serena walked over and saw 2 massive bowls of noodles on the table. I pulled out a beer I had saved earlier and started drinking. While Serena ate, her eyes kept darting towards me. "Stop staring! You've looked at me like 10 times already. Is there something on my face?" I looked up helplessly. "What if I want to stare?" I shook my head, feeling like this girl had turned into a completely different person since the event. Serena also realized her tone was a bit harsh and stopped talking, quietly eating her food. In reality, her mind had drifted far away. After dinner, Serena lay in bed, tossing and turning. Today had been a massive shock to her system. The next day kicked off the 8-day National Day holiday. During class, Chuck leaned over. "Mr. Handsome, are you going home for the holidays?" "Of course I am," I replied without hesitation. Speaking of which, it had been a while since I'd seen Grandpa. I wanted to go back and take care of the old man. "That's a shame. Our dorm isn't going back. We were planning to all go out and have fun together." Hearing my answer, Chuck gave up on recruiting me. Beside me, Serena listened to my answer, her eyes darting around as she schemed. While I was cooking lunch, she stood by the door watching me. "Why are you standing there like a creep? You're going home for the holidays, right?" "Yeah, why? What's up?" I asked, a bit confused by the sudden question. "Can I go back with you?" Serena asked tentatively. I stopped what I was doing so fast that I was instantly standing right in front of her. "Serena, are you out of your mind?" My tone was filled with pure. Serena's sudden curveball genuinely scared me. A stunningly beautiful girl suddenly asking to go home with me. No matter how you spin it, it sounded suspicious. Serena knew her request was abrupt, and her face flushed bright red. Then, she saw something behind me and pointed. I think the food is burning." "Holy crap!" I scrambled back to the stove. "Serena Quinn, you troll my chicken!" Serena awkwardly looked away. "I'll just ask him again later." At the dining table, she carefully eyed the blackened chicken. "You can't blame me for that, right? I didn't care about that." I was just looking at her like she grew a second head. "Were you joking earlier or what? Why do you want to go home with me?" Even though we were pretty close by now, it definitely wasn't meet the parents close. "I'm serious." Serena looked at me. "My mom is super busy. It doesn't make a difference whether I go home or not. I don't want to go back. Staying here is boring too. So, I want you to take me in." Hearing this, I was speechless. Why did that last sentence sound so pitiful? Meeting her pleading eyes, my heart inexplicably softened and I heard myself say, "Fine. Really? Thank you so much." Serena thought about it and quickly added, "Mainly because your cooking is too good. It'd be a shame not to eat it for so many days." Of course, Serena had her own selfish motives. She wanted to see where Leo Vance lived to figure out if he really was her childhood friend. "You're really latching on to me, huh? Maybe agreeing to be your roommate was the best decision you ever made. You almost missed out on a master chef." After eating, we both went back to our rooms to pack. I had very little stuff. Just a single backpack. Serena, on the other hand, had a lot to pack. I waited for what felt like an eternity before she finally emerged pulling a small suitcase. Show some patience." Serena glared at me. "You blockhead. This is my first time visiting your home. Should I bring some gifts for your family?" My aura instantly turned icy. "No need. It's just me and my grandpa. He doesn't need anything." Serena gave a soft, "Oh!" She felt the shift in my mood and stared at my back unblinkingly. "Little Leo, what exactly happened to you?" That night at the train station, it was packed even for the subway. "Keep up! You're moving like a turtle." I stood ahead, rushing her. I'm seriously regretting bringing her. Annoyed, Serena sped up. I got spooked by her aggressive approach and turned to run, but she grabbed me by the collar. "Where do you think you're going?" I felt a swift kick land on my backside, and suddenly a suitcase was shoved into my hand. "A grown man making a girl carry her own luggage?" Serena dusted off her hands, acting like it was the most natural thing in the world. "I'm leaving my stuff to you." I looked at her, completely bewildered. "This suitcase is light as a feather. How did she take so long to pack? What are you staring at? Go buy the tickets, and get mine while you're at it." Defeated, I dragged her suitcase to the ticket machine to wait in line. Serena sat in the distance watching me. Not gonna lie, treating him like a pack mule feels pretty great. After buying the tickets, we lined up and boarded the train. It was peak hour, and the train was packed. There were absolutely no seats. I led Serena to a corner. At first, I managed to keep some distance between us. But as more people piled in, we were quickly pressed against each other. Smelling the distinct masculine scent radiating from me, Serena's face flushed instantly. "Stop leaning so close to me. I want to, but there are too many people. Someone's shoving me from behind." Serena looked around and realized I was essentially shielding her with my arms. I was blocking out the crushing crowd for her. But this position was just way too embarrassing. We stayed like this for a few stops. The crowd only grew larger, not smaller. And every time the train accelerated or braked, we'd crash into each other for zero-distance contact. "Sorry, I'm trying my best here." I looked at her carefully, terrified that my accidental harassment would result in my murder. "It's fine. Just be careful." Serena's voice grew quieter and quieter. Finally, people started getting off and the space opened up a bit. I immediately shuffled away and looked in the opposite direction. Seeing my bright red ears, Serena suddenly thought, wait, why is he kind of cute? Recalling the physical contact from moments ago, her mind started racing again. That feeling of safety, that feeling of being protected. It's been so long. Stop spacing out. It's our stop. Before long, we arrived in front of a residential. Climbing up to the 5th floor, I took out my key, unlocked the door, and walked in. An old man was sitting there, seemingly kneading dough. Grandpa! Hearing the familiar voice, the old man stopped what he was doing and turned around. Leo's back, and who might this be? My classmate. She had some family issues, so she's crashing with us for the holiday. Grandpa Vance looked at Serena behind me and smiled warmly. Wonderful, wonderful. Welcome. What's your name, child? Hello, Grandpa. My name is Serena Quinn. I'll go get her settled first, then we can catch up. I led her into a room. It was a study, very clean, and barely needed any tidying up. You can sleep in here, is that okay? Why wouldn't it be? I'm not some spoiled princess. Serena rolled her eyes at me. Is there anything you forgot to bring? I can go out and buy it for you. Nope. Brought everything. All right. You go take a shower first, then. While Serena was showering, Grandpa Vance called me over. He placed a bottle of beer in front of me and poured himself a glass of baijiu, white liquor. Double standards much, Grandpa. You brat, be grateful you get to drink it all. This is my private stash. I laughed. I knew Grandpa only drank alcohol when he was extremely happy. And clearly, my coming home was the reason. Not bad. It's been a while, but you look much better than before, Grandpa noted. Smile more. Stop closing yourself off. All right. Ancient history. Let's not talk about it. What about that girl? What's the situation between you two? What situation? We're just classmates. Grandpa Vance studied me carefully. My eyes haven't gone blind yet, old man as I am. The way you two act, your relationship is definitely not ordinary. Have you finally figured out how to get a girlfriend? Grandpa, stop talking nonsense. You're gonna ruin her reputation. I snapped back, exasperated. I didn't expect. While we were chatting, Serena walked out of the bathroom after her shower. Seeing the two of us drinking, she immediately said, Grandpa, drinking too much is bad for your health. Haha, this brat forced me to drink with him. I'm done. My mouth twitched. How did I get thrown under the bus? Serena marched over aggressively and held out her slender hand to me. Give it. Can I finish this bottle? Just this one? I pleaded tentatively. No. I caught Grandpa covering his mouth and laughing out of the corner of my eye. Eventually, with massive reluctance, I handed the bottle over. Watching Serena pour my precious beer down the sink, my heart bled. I was allowed to drink back at the apartment. Why is she acting like a dictator the moment we get here? Grandpa Vance stood up chuckling. Go take a shower, Leo. I stood up gloomily and trudged toward the bathroom. Serena stood by the door and added a final blow. Drinking ruins your health. You're so nag. I'm starting to think bringing you here was a huge mistake. Too late. I'm already here, and you couldn't beat me away if you tried. Serena clenched her fists, ready to throw down. If she wasn't currently suspecting I was her childhood friend, she wouldn't even bother caring about me. I was just kidding. It looks like my grandpa really likes you anyway. Also, I meant the first half of what I said. After delivering my parting shot, I bolted. Serena stood there stunned for a second before finally realizing what happened. He just called me nagging again. Leo Vance. Serena spun around, but all she saw was the already closed bathroom door. Furious, she stomped back into the study. I happily washed up in the shower, listening to Serena's distant roar, a smirk forming on my lips. Felt good to win one. The next day, I woke up a little past 4 a.m. Grandpa Vance sighed helplessly. Why don't you sleep in a bit longer? Why are you up so early? I'm used to it, I said nonchalantly, picking up a crate of supplies. I'll take this over to the steamed bun stall, then come back for the rest. All right. Watching me leave, Grandpa smiled. Having this brat around definitely made things a lot easier. After a few trips, I stayed at the stall to help out. The sky slowly began to brighten, and a few early birds trickled in to buy buns. Before long, my phone buzzed with a message from Serena. I texted her the location. When Serena walked over, she saw the two of us bustling around. What time did you get up? She asked, immediately jumping in to help out. Around 4 something. I didn't know a lazy pig like you could actually be this hardworking. I never saw you up this early at school. My mouth twitched, and I felt my soul leave my body. Darn it, that's completely different. Heh, how is it different? Serena retorted without an ounce of mercy. A middle-aged man stopped in front of the stall. Oh hey, if it isn't little Leo, back for the holidays? I smiled. Uncle Lee, heading to work? Yep, no days off for the National Day holiday. Uncle Lee then looked at Serena with a teasing gaze. Oh ho, little Leo brought a girlfriend home. Serena's face instantly turned bright red, and she panicked. I quickly intervened. Just a classmate. She had some family stuff, so she's crashing with us for a few days. Hearing this, Serena's fists clenched. Why does his tone sound like he's disgusted by me? So punchable. Leo Vance. I took one leap and bolted. Run! Serena chased me relentlessly, and so the two of us engaged in a wild goose chase through the early morning streets. Stop right there. I have had enough of you. I'm going to end you today. I've been wanting to hit you since yesterday. This guy's mouth is just too annoying. Only an idiot would stop, I thought to myself, accelerating my pace. Seeing me speed up, Serena matched my pace. The distance between us didn't widen. Instead, it slowly shrank. We ran like this for a while until I arrived at a park. I hid behind a park bench, and seeing no one around, I breathed a sigh of relief. Holy crap, does this girl have unlimited stamina? I'm dying here! She should be far away by now, right? Yeah, right. Before I could even finish my sigh of relief, that familiar voice rang out. I stiffly raised my head and saw Serena, arms crossed, smirking down at me. I offered an awkward but polite smile, getting up to run again. But before I could even take a step, Serena grabbed the back of my collar. Then she shoved me down onto the bench. Run! Keep running! Serena sneered, cracking her knuckles to showcase her wrath. I shook my head helplessly. Can't run anymore. Let's take a break. Serena gave me zero mercy, delivering a flurry of punches and kicks. Holy! How do you still have energy? Lightly. Mercy! Oh, great heroine! After venting all her pent-up rage from the past few days, Serena felt incredibly refreshed. Currently, she had me pinned to the bench, twisting one of my arms behind my back in a textbook police arrest hold. Look at you now. Trying to fight me? Okay, you win. Have you hit me enough? Can you let me go now? Mainly because this position was incredibly humiliating. Passing grandpas and grandmas couldn't bear to watch and sped up their walking pace. I even heard one grandpa mutter, "Good heavens, kids these days sure know how to play rough." Seeing my ears turn slightly red, Serena suddenly felt the urge to tease me. Call me big sister, and I'll let you go. Why should I? Heh, because I'm older than you. How do you know you're older than me? I shot back defiantly. I took a year off, remember? We're in the same year and same class now. Serena scoffed coldly and raised her fist, ready for round two. Seeing this, I tensed my body, bracing for impact. Seeing my ready to die for my cause expression, Serena lost interest and let me go. She originally wanted to mess with me a bit longer. Anyway, I'm definitely older than you. Calling me big sister is totally justified. I stood up, dusted myself off, and stretched my aching back. Heh, I don't believe it. What year were you born? 2004. Doing the math, Serena was exactly 20. I felt a bit guilty upon hearing that, and muttered helplessly, 2006. Exactly 18. 2 years younger than you. The timeline matches up. Combined with the song from before, it's a match. Leo Vance is definitely my childhood friend, Serena thought to herself, a joyful smile spreading across her lips. Well, there you go. Little brother Leo. I blushed and turned my head. We weren't even related. What are you calling me little brother for? Serena just smiled, staying silent. I wonder which little brat used to run after me every day when we were kids, calling me Sister Serena until his lungs gave out, acting like my little shadow. I'm hungry. My mouth twitched. I thought you were full of boundless energy? Serena raised her fist with a terrifyingly friendly smile. Where to eat? Follow me. I took a step back in defeat. Serena smiled and followed me. We went to a noodle shop. After eating, Serena immediately rushed to pay the bill. It's on me! I gained a little brother today, so I'm in a great mood. My usually unshakable composure had been completely shattered by her today. I snapped. When did I ever agree to that? It's a fact! You can't deny it even if you try! We bickered the whole way back. Weren't you two going out to play? Back so soon? Grandpa asked. My mouth twitched. We didn't exactly play, I just got beaten up. Seeing me stay quiet, Serena didn't expose me and helped me carry the foam coolers back inside. At noon, Grandpa Vance came back from the stall and I started making lunch. Watching me bustle around the kitchen, Serena asked, Grandpa, did Leo learn how to cook from you? A little bit, but mostly he taught himself. He felt bad for my old bones, so whenever he's around, he fights me to do the cooking. It gives me a nice break. Hearing this, Serena's heart ached for me. Based on this, she knew something bad must have happened to little Leo's family when he was young. But she also knew it wasn't her place to ask right now. Even though she knew the truth, she was still technically an outsider at the moment. During our afternoon break, Serena sat on her bed and stared at an incoming call from her mom. She answered it. Serena, are you coming home for the holidays? Serena hesitated for a moment. No, school is really busy. I don't have time. Oh, okay, Mrs. Quinn's disappointed voice came through. It's boring to go home anyway, right? Do you finally have some free time this holiday? Miss Quinn paused. She was planning to have Secretary Smith take Serena out for some fun. Then stay safe at school. Let me know if you need money. After hanging up, Serena lay in bed, her expression unchanged. Ever since starting college, she rarely asked her family for money. She actually had her grandfather to thank. If he hadn't given her that allowance, she never would have been forced to rent an apartment and bump into her little brother Leo in the first place. In the office, Mrs. Quinn sighed helplessly at the disconnected line. Her daughter's attitude towards her was still as lukewarm as ever. Secretary Smith handed her a glass of water. Stressing over Serena again? Yeah. I originally wanted her to come back so you could take her out somewhere fun. It's useless, Mrs. Quinn. You won't fix your relationship by force. Besides, there's that boy classmate. Hearing this, Mrs. Quinn understood. Ever since investigating Leo Vance, they knew he was living with Serena, and they knew about Serena's part-time jobs. Originally, Mrs. Quinn wanted to put her foot down and stop her from doing those jobs. As the heiress to the Quinn family, even with the company struggling, they weren't exactly broke. Plus, living with a boy? Things were bound to happen. Mrs. Quinn was extremely worried, but knowing her daughter's stubbornness and listening to Secretary Smith's advice, she eventually dropped the idea. However, a young man and woman living alone together, she still couldn't relax. She frowned, full of suspicion. She turned to Secretary Smith. Investigate something else for me. At noon, Grandpa Vance needed to go buy ingredients and told me to take Serena out for a walk nearby. I glanced at her. I really didn't want to take this crazy woman out. Serena immediately delivered a swift kick. Hurry up! Didn't you hear Grandpa? Take me out to play. What is there to play? Why don't you go back to sleep? Sleep my foot, look at you lazy pig, you're so weak. You couldn't even run for that long before giving up. You need more exercise, Serena scolded, acting like a disappointed parent. I feel fine. Serena cracked her knuckles menacingly, her face screaming threat. Fine, I'm going. Eventually, I took her to the Riverside Park. Standing on the bridge, I looked out at the vast river, feeling a bit lonely. Serena looked at my back, sensing my shift in mood. She hesitated for a while before asking, where are your parents? Are they working out of town? I turned my head, my eyes filled with complex emotions, but mostly coldness. Divorced. Neither of them wanted me, so I live with Grandpa. I'm sorry, I didn't know. Serena was shocked, and her heart ached terribly for me. She had no— it's all in the past, I said, looking down. Even though it was in the past, the pain left in my heart would take a long time to heal, if it ever did. Just as I was zoning out, a soft hand suddenly grabbed mine. Does this make you feel a little better? Serena's face was flushed. My face matched hers. No, it was probably even redder. Let go! I yanked my hand back. If she could, Serena would have materialized a giant question mark over her head right then. What the heck is wrong with you? I feel like you're a female delinquent trying to take advantage of me every day, I said, looking at her like she was a predator. Leo Vance, you absolute jerk. In the park, I fled and she pursued. You clearly took advantage of me. Why are you hitting me? Shut up and take this beating. No. After taking a thorough beating like a good boy, Serena finally looked satisfied. Are there any sports courts nearby? There's a basketball court. Let's go play. You know how to play, right? Her tone carried a heavy dose of skepticism. I gritted my teeth. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Let's play a match, Serena provoked. You're on. There was no way I was backing down from that. At the court, Serena stood under the hoop holding the ball. Since it's a match, there has to be a wager. What do you think? What do you want to bet? Serena smiled triumphantly. If I win, my request isn't crazy. You just have to call me Big Sister. My mouth twitched. Just how obsessed was she with that title? And if I win, what do I get? Ask for a get-out-of-jail-free card. Your punches hurt. Serena burst out laughing and tossed me the ball. Fine. First to 10 points wins. I caught the ball, didn't say a word, and charged the hoop. Serena crouched low, getting into a defensive stance. I faked left and drove right. It was a simple move. Serena didn't block it. Watching me sink the shot, she shrugged. Underestimated you. I threw the ball back to her, feeling like she had gone easy on me. We kept playing, sweat soaking through our clothes. The match reached a boiling point. The score was 4-6. Me 4, her 6. I honestly didn't expect her to be this good. Hurry up, little brother Leo! Don't tell me this is all you've got. My mouth twitched, deciding to stop holding back. I got serious. The score slowly crept closer, eventually reaching match point. 9-9. I bounced the ball. I couldn't afford a single mistake now. I drove forward, Serena sticking to me like glue. Nearing the backboard, I jumped for a layup. Serena jumped too, aiming to block the shot. This inevitably led to some physical contact. Serena managed to smack the ball away, but my momentum sent me crashing right into her. Soft? I instantly realized my face had unfortunately met a very soft, unmentionable obstacle. I leaped back in awkward horror. Serena also realized what happened, her face flushing crimson in a second. She glared at me furiously. I scratched my head awkwardly. I really didn't mean to. It's unavoidable in sports. Heh, Serena sneered. But honestly, she didn't really blame me. We had bumped into each other dozens of times during the previous rounds anyway. Continue. I froze for a second, not believing this tigress was letting me off the hook so easily. I handed her the ball. When Serena charged, I only put up a token defense. She blew right past me, jump, layup, smooth as butter. I shrugged. You win, I really can't beat you. Serena knew exactly why I gave up. It was my apology for what happened earlier. Even though she won, she wasn't particularly thrilled. This guy, let's go. Time to head back. On the way home, Serena walked beside me and smiled. Little brother Leo, you haven't forgotten our bet, have you? I mumbled a tiny agreement, my voice incredibly small, and turned my head away, speeding up my walk. Serena trailed behind, clearly seeing my bright red ears, her smile growing even more mischievous. Say it, big sister. I spat it out once, then went dead silent. Serena blocked my escape path. I didn't hear you. Say it again. My eyes went wide in disbelief. You did that on purpose. I really didn't hear it. Since I didn't hear it, it doesn't count. The bet was to call me that, and I didn't hear it. Looking at the beautiful girl in front of me, acting like she absolutely wouldn't let me leave until I said it, I had no choice but to say it again. Big sister. Very good, little brother Leo. After all these years, I finally get to hear that again. Hearing this, I froze in my tracks. This long-lost nickname. I looked at Serena with complex emotions, trying to find the shadow of the person from my childhood. It can't be, right? For a moment, I was completely confused and full of doubt. What's wrong, little brother Leo? Serena looked at me curiously. Internally, she was wondering if I had recognized her. I shook my head. Let's go back. Serena followed me, feeling a bit disappointed but quickly let it go. After all, girls change a lot as they grow up. It was normal he didn't recognize her. Is there something on my face? Why were you staring at me like that, little brother Leo? Serena unabashedly teased. I gritted my teeth, my entire body tensing up. I just want to know why it suddenly became little brother Leo. Because it sounds cute, Serena said matter-of-factly. Besides, both little brother Leo and little brother Shu sound nice. She made absolutely no effort to hide her personal agenda. I just let her be. By the time we got back, it was dark. Grandpa Vance had prepared dinner. Serena went, You take your time, me and the girl will eat first, Grandpa said casually. Grandpa, aren't we going to wait for Leo? It had only been 2 days, and Grandpa had already noticed Serena's shift in how she addressed me. He chuckled warmly. Girl, don't pity that brat. This is how our house works. Eat up. Serena's face turned red, mostly because Grandpa's words were so direct. Grandpa, did you call him Little Leo when he was a kid? Yeah, Little Leo is his nickname. His mother gave it to him. At this, Grandpa's expression grew melancholy. It was an issue between the adults, but the child ended up getting hurt the most. Serena felt awful. She knew about Leo's situation too. Let's not talk about that. Eat up. Not long after, I emerged from the bathroom. Grandpa, what did you make? All your favorites. I already scooped your rice for you. That night, I lay in bed massaging my sore legs, looking helplessly at Serena sitting on a chair nearby. We played all afternoon, aren't you tired? Why are you hanging out in my room? Isn't it boring? I want you to tell me a story. What kind of story do I have to tell? Do you have someone very important to you? Hearing this, I paused, thinking back to my childhood experiences and muttered, I guess so. Who? Serena asked excitedly, feeling a little thrill in her heart. When I was a kid, I met this little girl. She was chubby and pretty cute. We played together a lot back then, and a lot of fun stuff happened. Do you still remember her name? Serena could barely contain her excitement. His story perfectly matched their childhood. No idea. I just called her Sister Serena. Serena was so excited she almost jumped out of her chair. Luckily, she managed to restrain herself. Keep going. Geez, why are you so obsessed with my life? Serena pouted in dissatisfaction. Keep going. Broaden my horizons. Nope. Go back to sleep. Fine. Serena stood up. Next time I get the chance, I'll tell you my story. Who wants to hear your story? I mumbled as she closed the door. Then I pulled the covers up and went to sleep. Back in the study, my words echoed in Serena's mind. Just based on that conversation, she was completely certain. Leo Vance was the person she had been looking for. Serena drifted off into a sweet sleep. She felt like she was having a dream. Because of her family situation and her high intelligence, little Serena didn't go to kindergarten. She had private tutors. And because she was lonely, she liked to wander around the small park in their neighborhood by herself. That was where she met Leo Vance. At the time, Leo's parents were processing their divorce and fighting in court. Unfortunately, Serena still remembered that brat running up to her and saying, Little girl, why are you out here all alone? Little Serena looked at this kid who was shorter than her and shot back, Look at how tiny you are. You should be calling me Big Sister. From that day on, little Serena had a little shadow following her. He waited for her in the park every day, and little Serena would go find him after her lessons. Mostly they just sat together and poured their hearts out to each other. Little Serena envied that he didn't have to study. She told him her mom was always busy and her dad went to a faraway place. Besides classes, she was so bored and had no one to play with. Even though Leo was innocent, he could feel the shift in his family's atmosphere. He didn't want to go back to that home. It was suffocating and uncomfortable. They became each other's sole comfort and secretly played together for a long time. Serena also grew fond of this little brother, calling him Little Brother Leo, and little Leo called her Sister Serena. Little Serena had a simple MP3 player. That was when she taught little Leo how to sing. The song was an old classic, The Ocean. It was her dad's favorite song, and the first song she had ever learned. Every time she listened to it, she remembered her dad carrying her as they ran across the beach. That was the last time her dad had ever spent time with her. The tragic news had dealt a devastating blow to the family. But little Serena knew nothing. Her mom just told her that dad went somewhere very far away. If you miss him, just listen to the song. Leo Vance learned it too, and little Serena loved hearing him sing it. It made her feel like she was hearing the ocean's call again, like she could feel her dad again. A few days later, Serena gave him a necklace. Upon receiving the gift, Leo promised to return the favor with an even more special gift. But the next day, Serena waited at their usual spot for a long time. She never saw her little brother Leo again. She never got his gift. Eventually, she had to leave in disappointment. The National Day holiday flew by. After saying goodbye to Grandpa, we returned to our shared apartment. Sitting in the living room eating instant noodles, Serena scrolled through the school forum. In just a few short days, several hot threads had popped up. They were all talking about the recent performance. She quickly found the thread about Leo. A lot of people were trying to find him because his singing was so good and he was so handsome. Watching all these girls scrambling to claim Leo as their boyfriend, Serena was fuming. Before, she wouldn't have cared. But now, she was going to pursue him. Once she caught him, she was going to ruthlessly punish him and ask him why he abandoned her back then. Her childhood friend belongs to her. At that thought, the instant noodles in front of Serena suddenly lost their flavor. She radiated an aura of pure resentment. I was eating when I suddenly felt the temperature in the room drop several degrees. I looked up at Serena. "What are you looking at? What's going on?" "Nothing." Serena put her phone away. "I definitely cannot let Leo find out about this." I didn't think much of it, since I rarely checked the forums anyway. At noon, we went to the market together to buy groceries. "Don't buy so much. That's enough, right?" "Not enough. What if a lazy pig like you forgets to buy groceries next time? We just got back." "Of course we don't have anything," I retorted helplessly. "I wasn't talking about this time. Did you forget the time before? I was the one who bought them for you," I facepalmed. "Ah, right. You're always right. Happy now?" Serena smiled. "It's the truth." Finally, when we got to the checkout counter, Serena noticed some beautifully packaged boxes on a small rack nearby while I was busy unloading the cart. There were no big words on them, but driven by curiosity, she picked one up to examine it closely, until she read the English description on the back. I finished paying, turned around, and saw her staring blankly at a box. I didn't think anything of it. "Let's go! What are you looking at?" As a top student, how could Serena not translate what was written? Her face burning up, she hastily put the box back and practically ran away, trailing behind me. That thing was actually on the way home. She followed behind me, still reeling from the shock. "What's wrong with you? What was that thing anyway?" Serena froze. "You don't know? Are you supposed to know? What was it exactly?" "I'm as pure as a blank sheet of paper. I really don't know these things." Serena's expression was priceless. "Nothing." Originally, she thought I had seen it and would mock her for it. Turns out, this was the reality. For a moment, she didn't know whether to laugh or cry, feeling a bizarre sense of relief. The next day was the start of classes again. Serena was incredibly frustrated to discover that I was back to my habit of sleeping in. "Little brother Leo, wake up! You're going to be late again!" I let out a groan of pure agony, checked my phone, and yelled, "It's freaking 7 a.m. Class starts at 8. I was worried you'd oversleep. Get up and make breakfast." Having my sleep disturbed, I roared furiously, "Serena Quinn, get lost! Stop bothering me! I'm coming in!" Serena threatened from the door. "Scram!" Serena rubbed her nose. "What a temper!" Eventually, she had no choice but to sit on the couch and read a book. After an unknown amount of time, seeing that it was actually getting late, Serena was about to go call me again. Just as she stood at the door, I opened it. We stared at each other, completely dumbfounded. I thought she had left, so I walked out without a shirt on, still boasting a perfect physique and 8-pack abs. She just stared, covering her mouth in sheer disbelief, and very subtly swallowed hard. "That body, I kinda want to take a bite." I broke out in a cold sweat and slammed the door shut with a loud bang. "I'm sorry." Serena looked at the closed door and burst out laughing. Then, she started. Before long, I was dressed and walking out the door with her. "Unbelievable. Is it really that hard to get a homemade breakfast out of you?" Serena complained as she bought 2 steamed buns. I rolled my eyes. I haven't even settled the score with you for waking me up. You want breakfast? It'll cost extra." "It's not like I don't have money." "Forget it, I don't need you to add anything." "So it's free then?" Serena asked excitedly. "Get lost. I quit. You broke your promise. I'm gonna beat you up." Hearing this, I remembered how hard she punched and nervously sped up my pace. Serena laughed and followed behind me. We chatted all the way into the classroom, but Serena was still holding a grudge about earlier. "Little brother Leo, you can't go back on your word. My breakfast is in your hands now. Remember to wake up early from now on. Early to bed, early to rise makes a man healthy and wise." I was still chewing on my bun. Hearing this, I almost choked to death. I had to open my big mouth and ask for more money, and now I played myself. I tried to act tough and turned my head, only to see Serena narrowing her eyes at me. It was a look full of scrutiny and threat. It basically screamed, "Agree or I will murder you." Hiss! So cold, I swallowed hard. "Fine! Stop looking at me like that." "I agree, okay?" I said with immense reluctance. "Good." Serena couldn't resist reaching out and ruffling my hair. My hair was incredibly soft, it felt pretty nice. I tilted my head, dodging her hand. "Stop that." Seeing me act shy, Serena wanted to tease me more, but Ms. Rachel walked in, forcing her to drop it. After class, I headed out to use the restroom, but ran into Chad the moment I stepped out. My expression didn't change. I planned to just walk around him. "Hey, I'm warning you, stay away from Serena!" Chad knew I was a good fighter, and since he was alone right now, he was actually a bit scared. "Go tell her that. Don't bother me." I turned my head, my eyes turning freezing cold in an instant. "I don't care what goes on between you and Serena, and I don't care if you chase her. I only know that if you mess with me, the consequences will be severe." After saying that, I ignored a stunned Chad and walked away. Chad glared at my back, his fists clenched, his face full of venom. Back in class, I sat in my seat feeling inexplicably frustrated. Even though I said that to Chad, I had no idea why my mind was completely filled with Serena. Especially since we'd been spending so much time together, I had this nagging feeling that I had met Serena somewhere before. "What are you thinking about?" Seeing me lost in thought, especially my furrowed brows, Serena asked curiously. I panicked for a second and looked away. "Nothing." This made Serena even more curious, but she didn't push it. After school, we walked down the campus paths. We could occasionally hear the whispers of other students, especially my fangirls. Even though so much time had passed, the hype from my singing performance hadn't died down at all. Seeing the way those girls looked at me, Serena was practically drowning in jealousy. By the time we got home, she was still unhappy, sitting on the couch and sulking all by herself. So annoying. Why does little brother Leo have to be so handsome? Ugh. Serena furiously punched the throw pillow in her arms, completely projecting my face onto it to vent her anger. Time to eat! I looked toward the living room and saw Serena punching the pillow, her expression a mix of complex emotions. I never expected Serena to have such a cute side. Ah! Hearing my voice, Serena stopped what she was doing, her face turning bright red as she jogged into the kitchen to help carry the food. Ah, so embarrassing. He saw everything. At the dinner table, Serena suddenly looked up at me while eating. You didn't see anything, right? Ah, this. Is she just lying to herself at this point? I nodded anyway. Yep, I didn't see a thing. But the corners of my mouth uncontrollably turned upwards. Seeing this, Serena kicked me from under the table. What are you doing? Why are you kicking me? That hurts. You were clearly laughing. I was not. Fine, I was. Since we didn't have classes that afternoon, I went to my part-time job with Serena. After Serena finished her shift feeling bored, she wandered over to the boba shop. Seeing the incredibly long line, which was almost entirely girls, it was blatantly obvious they were all here to buy milk tea just to look at my face. This made Serena feel sour all over again. Seriously, is my little brother Leo really this popular? He's just handsome and cooks well. What else does he have? This guy is a total dense blockhead who could literally anger someone to death. But she just happened to like him anyway. And Leo Vance could only belong to Serena Quinn. He had belonged to her since they were kids. At that moment, Serena's gaze was more determined and resolute than ever. She had to figure out a way to kidnap this silly little brother so he wouldn't get tricked by other bad women out there. Meanwhile, I was working with my usual emotionless poker face until a pleasant voice spoke up from across the counter. Class Prez, 1 pearl milk tea, please. I looked up. It was Veronica, the vice class rep. I didn't really have much interaction with her. We just did our respective jobs. I skillfully started prepping the drink. The shop wasn't too busy at the moment, so Veronica stood at the counter and tried to strike up a conversation. You're so fast. How long have you been doing this? I pretended not to hear her and stayed silent. Then, I placed the milk tea in front of her. $8. Veronica looked a bit embarrassed and pulled out her phone to scan the QR code to pay. She actually liked Leo Vance too, but never had the chance to make a move. Now that she knew where he worked, she thought she could come over and flirt a bit. But Leo was so cold he didn't give her an inch. Excuse me, you're in the way. Just as Veronica was about to try again, an icy voice came from behind her. She turned around and saw Serena. I didn't expect her to come here either. Veronica had no choice but to step aside. Oh, Serena, are you here to buy milk tea too? Serena gave a dismissive hum and stood right in front of me. Seeing her attitude, Veronica clenched her fists tightly. Everyone in class thought the two of us were a couple, but she just wasn't willing to accept it. I looked at Serena's expression and felt a weird vibe. It was like a calm ocean, hiding a raging storm underneath. I felt eyes burning into my back and couldn't help but shiver. What would you like, you tell me? Serena's tone was flat, but it carried an immense amount of pressure. I originally wanted to joke around and say drinking too much cold stuff is bad for you, but now I absolutely didn't dare. All right, 1 lime yuzu tea. I got to work quickly. Serena's expression finally softened. At least this brat still remembers what I like to drink. In Veronica's eyes, this scene looked exactly like a couple playfully flirting, and it deeply pierced her heart. While I was busy in the back, Veronica asked, Serena, you guys seem really close. Do you come here often? Serena gave her a sideways glance. As a fellow girl, how could she not see right through Veronica's intentions? It's all right. I work right next door anyway. Leo actually helped me get the job. Hearing this made Veronica feel even worse. Not knowing what else to say, she grabbed her milk tea and stormed off angrily. Right at that moment, I happened to walk out with the yuzu tea. I glanced around Serena, feeling slightly confused, but handed her the drink anyway. Did she leave? What's wrong? Are you feeling super disappointed? Serena rolled her eyes at me. I had no idea why she was acting like this again. I thought you girls would have a lot to talk about. I'm terrible at talking to girls, I said, visibly looking relieved. Serena finally realized she had misunderstood my intentions, and her mood lifted slightly. You say you're terrible at talking to girls, but what about me? We talk just fine. Maybe you're different, I guess, I said, not even sure of the answer myself. The corners of Serena's mouth curled up. This answer made her incredibly happy. Doesn't this mean I'm special to him? Serena smiled and started walking out. I yelled from behind her, Serena, you haven't paid yet. Cover it for me. I'll pay you back next time. Wow, just coming over to freeload. I rolled my eyes. This behavior demands the highest level of condemnation. The next day, we had an elective class in a massive lecture hall. 3 different majors were taking the class together. As we sat down in the back, we heard a familiar voice. It was Tiffany. Bestie, I'm sitting right here. Serena gave her a sideways glance and flatly refused. No. The problem was that Tiffany had chosen the seat directly to my right while Serena was sitting to my left. Sitting like that meant I would be sandwiched between 2 women. Naturally, Serena wasn't going to allow that. Tiffany pouted and complained, You're way too possessive. She was instantly met with Serena's death stare and shut her mouth. Serena nudged me, signaling me to move one seat over. I helplessly stood up and shifted over. Serena sat down close to my side and gestured for Tiffany to sit on her left. Finally, she didn't forget to warn Tiffany, "If you spout nonsense again, go sit somewhere else." Tiffany stuck her tongue out. "Fine, I won't say a word." I lowered my head, wanting to clarify things. Any talk about possessiveness is fake. We are obviously completely platonic. There is absolutely nothing between us. It's totally innocent. It's not what you think. Tiffany looked at the flustered handsome guy and burst out laughing. Yes. Okay. Completely innocent. What's with that expression? Serena punched my arm, looking exasperated. This silly little brother. He's absolutely no match for a veteran gossip like Tiffany. Just stop talking, Serena said. This three-person banter fell under the watchful eyes of the entire class, earning me endless amounts of envy. Soon, class started. Miss Rachel walked in and began lecturing. I listened attentively. However, Tiffany noticed that her best friend wasn't behaving. Serena kept stealing glances at me, trying to cover it up but failing miserably. You like the guy but won't just say it. You're gonna regret it when someone else snatches him up. Bestie, the closer you are to the water, the easier it is to catch the fish. If you don't make a move soon, someone else will steal him. You have such a huge advantage. Why aren't you using it? Serena glared at her fiercely, a blush creeping up her cheeks. But hearing Tiffany say that, she actually agreed, especially after the crisis Veronica had caused her to feel. Plus, Leo Vance really was outstanding. He was handsome, sang well, and definitely attracted a lot of girls' attention. Don't speak. Serena said that while glancing in my direction. Confirming I hadn't noticed what was happening on their side, she breathed a sigh of relief. Right now her heart was a chaotic mess. I have my own pacing. Don't ruin it for me. Hearing this, Tiffany could only sit there in anxious frustration, wishing she could just jump in and date him on Serena's behalf. After class, Chuck and the guys dragged me to the restroom, but Serena was blocked at the classroom door by Chad. Can you please stop annoying me? I have absolutely zero feelings for you. It's fine. We can take our time getting to know each other, and the feelings will come naturally, Chad said shamelessly. Tiffany stood to the side, enjoying the show. She knew Serena wouldn't let herself get bullied. Serena radiated a freezing aura, startling the guys in front of her. One of Chad's lackeys couldn't help but whisper, "Boss, maybe we should just let it go. There are plenty of fish in the sea." Chad snapped angrily. "Shut up! What do you know?" Serena was just about to throw hands to stop these guys from bothering her again. But then, she saw me walking towards them. Her eyes flashed, and she got an idea. "Little brother Leo, over here!" Serena swapped her icy mask for a totally different persona and walked toward me with a bright smile. The crowd watching was full of question marks. At that moment, I had a very bad premonition. My fears were instantly confirmed. Serena walked right up to me and wrapped her arms tightly around my arm. Seeing them looking so intimate deeply pierced Chad's heart, and when he realized it was me, his eyes turned incredibly dark. "Him again? Why? I need to tell you something. I have a boyfriend."